In this video, I'm going to break down the fundamentals for product sketching. I'll teach you warm-ups that you should be doing before your sketches, along with how to draw in perspective. Now I know some of you may be thinking that you may not necessarily have time to watch this entire video. I get that, we all are busy doing other things. So I am providing a link down below where you can purchase an overview of what we are learning in this video. And even if you do watch the video all the way through, you may still want to check it out because it is a helpful guide, so if you do need a refresher, you can always look back at the guide rather than watch the video over again. So yeah, link down below, and I hope you like this video. Hey, what's up? Samantha here to bring you tools and tutorials to improve your design skills. On this channel, we will be doing a lot of product design, along with Adobe tutorials. So if you're new, consider subscribing. At any point in this video, check out show notes and links in the YouTube description below, where you can get a list of products I'm using, along with that guide I talked about in the beginning of the video. So now let's jump into it. With industrial design sketching, the goal is to be as clear and as accurate to convey the idea that is in your head onto paper. To get to that level, you have to have the basics down first. Think of it like training for a marathon. You aren't going to go outside and run 26.2 miles right off the bat. You're going to work your way up to that and get the basics down first. Same with product sketching. So let's start off with some warm-ups. And let's say, even if you are a seasoned pro, I would still recommend doing these warm-ups before you start sketching. Again, it's just like running or working out, you have to do the warm-ups. So let's warm up your sketching muscles. So we're going to start by practicing freehand straight lines. And we're going to do that by drawing parallel lines. So just take your pen or marker and just draw parallel lines. Start off with short lines, something in the 3-inch range, and try to get the spaces in between the lines even. Another important tip is do not, and I mean do not, draw with your wrist. Make sure to engage the entire arm and use your elbow for movement, not the wrist. This will help your drawing skills improve by so much by just doing this tip alone. And continue to draw these parallel lines and make sure you do not draw them just one way. So like go straight up, straight down, at any angle, left to right, right to left. Don't continue doing it the same direction, switch it up, and that will really help as well. I had a teacher that even had us practice with our non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, practice with your left, and left-handed, practice with your right. Oh, and make sure you draw lightly. Do not put much force into these lines, because that will help from it to not be wobbly on your line and more straight. These are fundamentals for construction lines as well, so continue to try to draw lightly with these. I know it's hard to see because I'm using a thicker marker, but if you're using a pen, you'll be able to notice it being more lightly drawn. And just keep doing this. Fill up the paper front and back, and do it as many times as you feel till you're warmed up. That's your call on how many times you do this, but it is a very good warm-up to do. And try not to rotate the paper as well. I know it's hard for me sometimes to do that because when I normally sketch, I do rotate my paper around, but for this warm-up, try to keep it still and not move that. Move your arm instead. So things to remember is start with short lines and engage your entire arm, not your wrist. And that is warm-up 1. Now let's go on to the next warm-up. Alright, so for warm-up 2, we will be aiming lines point to point. So you're going to draw a couple of points on a piece of paper and connect them. And make sure you go through the points. Do not go dot to dot, extend all the way through. And just keep doing it. Try to hit both points with your line. You can redo the line if you do not hit the points. And just continue to repeat this. This will really help you gain more control of where you're putting that line. So it's a very good warm-up to do. Once you flip over the page, if you press the dots in enough, you won't even have to redo the dots. So just continue to connect those like you did in the front of the page. So another technique for this warm-up is to match one dot. So draw lines that meet in one point. Start to draw at any point outside of the center and draw the line through the center and continue. Do not stop where the dot is, continue outside of the dot. And that is warm-up 2. Just to let you guys know what marker I'm using, it is this Papermate Flare pen. I'll provide a link to that in the description below. It is pretty inexpensive and I definitely use it a lot in my sketching. Alright, now we are switching gears and pens to move on to perspective. And I'm using a blue pen. You can really get depth to a drawing with only one ballpoint pen. You do that by starting the drawing light, then adding more and more definition as you go. So we're going to start off by drawing in 1-point perspective. Now most product sketches are not done in 1-point perspective, they're done in 2-point, but this is a good way to introduce perspective. And also a fun way to practice drawing straight lines. Start by drawing a horizontal line. And then choose a vanishing point. Now all the lines you draw will come from the vanishing point. Draw a rectangle and each point of that rectangle will have lines going to the vanishing point. Then add the other lines to the finished box. Go ahead and correct whatever lines aren't straight or in perspective. And there's your box. You can repeat. I would even draw through, which means to draw even the edges that would not be seen because they're behind the box. So draw the complete box with light construction lines, then darken the inside lines and the outlines should be the darkest. Trace lines again and again to achieve different line weight. Alright, now let's go on to 2-point perspective. And before we do that, we need to talk about the XYZ coordinate system. Sketching in perspective requires understanding the XYZ coordinate system. Each axis points towards a vanishing point. Each plane is perpendicular to its axis. Stay in control of your drawing by always knowing on which plane you are sketching. This system is used not only to sketch boxes, but for all complex forms. To draw a box where no side is perfectly perpendicular to the viewer, 2-point perspective is needed. Alright, so now on to 2-point perspective. So like 1-point perspective, you're going to need to draw the horizon line. Then draw the front corner of a box. This establishes the X, Y, and Z axis. Then extend the x-axis and the y-axis lines from the bottom of the vertical until they intersect the horizon line. The intersections of these lines create the left vanishing point, LVP, and right vanishing point, RVP, for the drawing. Draw lines from the top of the vertical to the left and right vanishing points. Then add 2 verticals at any distance. Close the box by drawing lines from the top of the 2 new verticals to the left and right vanishing points. Add the resulting hidden vertical in the back. Now after you do that, I usually like to round out the corners, because in industrial design, when things are manufactured, nothing's actually going to be at a perfect point. You're always going to have a fillet on that, and we'll discuss that on later videos, but it's good to go ahead and do that on your sketches. And then go over the actual box, make it darker, and just overlap those lines to get different line weights. And that's why I did the 2 lines in the front, because I'm giving the impression of the fillet. So keep doing that. Keep practicing 2-point perspective, because you will get better at it the more you practice. Okay, so now that you've drawn below the horizon line, I'm going to draw a few above the horizon line. And what you're going to notice is that when you draw above the horizon line, you aren't going to see the top of the box anymore. You're going to see the bottom of the box. Versus when you drew below the horizon line, you could see the top of the box and not the bottom. And this is true with your vision as well. So if you are holding a box in real life and you had it below your horizon line, you'd see the top of that box. But if you had it above your horizon line, you wouldn't see the top, you'd see the bottom. So that's a good way to think about it when you're drawing. Like, how would you see it if the object was actually in front of you? Now, when you're doing sketches where the vanishing points aren't on the actual paper, you're going to have to envision where they would be and just make sure that your lines are going to intersect at some point. It may be off the page, but they need to be at an angle where they will intersect at some point. And again, fillet the edges and darken the lines. you like it, make sure to subscribe. I will be posting a new video every Thursday. Next week, I will talk about ellipsis and minor axis. I will also go more in depth on perspective terminology like cone of vision and other things. So please subscribe because you do not want to miss that. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments. Also in the comments, tell me what you would like me to teach. The link to the guide and my website is at the bottom. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.